Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs, me Kieran talking all things Tottenham, and today we've got some contract talk for you, a little bit about some transfers. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get hit with all the latest and greatest Spurs news. Don't forget to support it with a like and leave your comments below so we can keep the conversation about Spurs going. So jumping straight into it, and we're going to talk about our captain, Hugo Lloris. Nice want him to come home, so that is where he was born. It's where he began his professional career. He won 78 appearances for them before joining Lyon in 2008. So apparently Lloris is open to a return, but that's just what a French publication has said. You know, I'm assuming that he would like a return to France at some stage in his career. Other places that he's been talked about going is the possibility of the US, where many players like to go towards the end of their careers. It's a good little payday for them, and the league is improving. However, you know, Lloris is playing really well for us since he came back from that injury that he had last season, putting some man of the match displays. Hasn't had too much to do in many of the games recently, but that's purely because our defence as a whole and that midfield are really coming together, pressing higher up the pitch. We're winning the ball a lot more, so Lloris is actually having a pretty cushy time at Spurs at the moment. And the only goals he's really let in of late have been ones that are very well struck and hasn't really been able to do anything about it. Conte, when he was asked about the contract situation with Lloris, was kind of a bit tight-lipped on it, but basically said that Spurs have got things under control. He feels like the Lloris situation is fine. He's the captain. He's very passionate about Spurs. 35 years old now, but as we know, for a goalkeeper, that's not particularly old. Many of them managed to play till 38, 40 at a decent level still. I think we've still got at least one more season out of Lloris. Let me know below in the comments, what do you think? Do you want our captain to stay for at least another season? Do you think he's got one in him, or do you think it's time for him to move on? My personal opinion, I'd like him to stay because at the moment he's still showing signs that he can perform at the top level for us. As for what he wants to do in the future, you know, once that time comes, if he does one more season for us, yeah, I'd be happy for him to move on. The issue that we've got is because there's no contract signed at the moment and it's up in the summer, he's able to have pre-contract agreement talks with clubs around Europe as of January, and then he can leave us for free in the summer. I'm really hoping that we get some sort of contract sorted, at least a 1-year extension. Then maybe we can talk about, instead of him leaving on a free, the possibility of him, I don't know, signing, well, not signing, but at least some talks in the way of a small fee for him. I feel like we deserve at least some fee for a keeper of his caliber. However, if he was to go for free, it's not like we paid a lot of money for him back in the day, and he's definitely served us very well. So it's one of them, you know, he's done his time. He's been a great servant of the club. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think on that one? Moving on to a current player of ours, and don't worry, we are going to get to some juicier transfer stories, but I just thought I'd get these ones out the way first about our players potentially leaving. So Cameron Carter-Vickers, we know he's on loan at Celtic. He's having a good time there. He obviously helped them to win the Scottish League Cup, played a key part in that for them, has been great for him this season. He's been very good in the Championship on loan, and it seems to be like Championship level, Scottish Premier League level is currently where he's at. I mean, I think he could be a Premier League defender at some point. He could probably settle into some of the Premier League clubs at the moment, down the bottom end of the table, or at least mid-table. But for Spurs, he's not quite there yet. Although the system that we now play in a back three would probably suit him down to a T if he was ever to make a claim for himself at Spurs. But look, the 23-year-old who seems to have been at Spurs forever and a day. Like, I feel like I've been talking about him for years and years and years. He's having a very good time there. I'm going to get it wrong. Postecoglou, probably got that wrong. Celtic manager. Anyway, he has spoke recently in an interview saying that he would love Carter-Vickers to stay beyond the season, and you can see why. He's had a massive impact there. I think there's a good defender in there, and at 23 years old, he's certainly got a lot of time ahead of him, a lot of developing and maturing to do as a player, especially in that centre-back position. The thing is, if they do want him, and I believe they're already trying to have talks with Tottenham to sign him, so he's on loan for the season. There is a possibility to buy him come the end of the season, but they want to get it snapped up in January. So talks have already begun. Now, because they've shown such an eagerness to want him as a player, that can only mean one thing. Price potentially goes up. So initially they were quoted at about 10 million, I believe it was, but reports were suggesting they could get him for as little as 3 to 5 million. Showing such an eagerness to want him is only going to make Daniel Levy's eyes light up, and you know he's going to try and whack an extra couple of million on. It's a move that would suit everybody. Carter Vickers has been a product of the loan system, bounced around a lot. He's lost his place in the USNMT, so the men's national team in America. He lost his place after being a prominent figure in there for a while. They've got a lot of talented centre-backs floating about at the moment. That's why he's been in and out of the side. I feel like he just needs stability at a club. He needs somewhere he's playing on a regular basis, knows where he's going to be the following season. So if he gets the move, it benefits him in that sense. It benefits Celtic in the fact that they're getting a very good defender, and it suits us as well because we're going to get a transfer fee for, you know, a few more million than we thought we were ever going to get for Carter Vickers. So it could be a good move. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think we should extend his contract another year? Is it time for him to move on? I'll let you decide. Ooh, which one should we go for next? All right, seeing as we've spoken about Lloris, we'll now speak about another goalkeeper. So a lot of fans are excited about the possibility of this one. Obviously, I've said so far we've been linked with Sam Johnston, Jordan Pickford. Now it is time to be linked with Dean Henderson, another English goalkeeper, and that seems to be the route Conte wants to go down. He's the next one, the Manchester United goalkeeper. We are monitoring his situation. He obviously missed the start of the season through illness with Manchester United, and in that time, De Gea has recaptured some kind of form. He's been kind of the mainstay for them this season. Henderson is desperate for playing time. Obviously, he wants to vie for that #1 spot for England. He looked like he was on the verge of becoming a great goalkeeper with his time on loan at Sheffield United. Back in the Manchester United side, in and out, him and De Gea battling for the spot. He needs to be somewhere where he's playing regularly. He is that #1. If Lloris does move on in the summer, Dean Henderson comes in. How do you feel about that scenario? It's a tough one, isn't it? Henderson has all the potential to be a great goalkeeper. However, do you want to run the risk that he doesn't fulfill his potential and we lose Lloris? Or is there a scenario where we could have them both at the club? He's not going to want to come to the club and play second fiddle to Lloris. He's already in that situation there. And Manchester United, although over the course of a few years haven't performed quite to the level they should, and we've actually been up there ourselves, Man United is still, unfortunately, a bigger club than we are and more of an attraction to players. So that'll be an interesting one to keep our eye on, see how that one develops over the course of, I mean, I don't think January, I think that's more one for the summer. We'll see how we go. Moving on, Franck Kessie. So this is a player we've spoke about quite a lot over the summer. We've spoke about him since the season's been underway. So his contract situation at AC Milan has not changed. He is looking to move. January is a time where he can sign a pre-contract, and apparently we are now front runners over teams like PSG and many other teams around Europe for his signature. This story is not going away. It keeps gathering pace. So the way we would do it is a pre-contract in January for him to join in the summer. So we won't see him this season. So he could be Conte's first signing, but he will not be the first signing Conte makes that will play for Spurs. He will remain with AC Milan till the end of the season, come to us in the summer. Look, 25 years old, very good player. He will be playing for the Ivory Coast in the upcoming African Cup of Nations. So for any of those of you that haven't had a real chance to see him and don't watch Italian football, if you watch the African Cup of Nations, that's the perfect platform to see him play. Honestly, he's a very, very, very talented midfielder. However, if we do sign him, it probably sees the end of Harry Winks. This is somebody I don't want to see go. I love the fact that he's a homegrown player. He's been in the Tottenham Academy. Obviously hasn't reached the heights that he once did in previous seasons under Pochettino. However, his last few performances in the Spurs shirt have been good. He has had 2 man of the match displays, certainly in my eyes. I don't know about everybody else's. Conte could get him back to the form that we once knew. Now, if he goes on to play ridiculously well until the end of the season, I don't know what we do then. Do we bring Kessie in, knowing that we have Skip and Winks? Højbjerg kind of plays a slightly different role to Winks anyway. Højbjerg is always going to be the second midfielder partnered with someone. So do we then let Ndombele go? And possibly Lo Celso as another one to go out the door. I know that he's looking to move. His situation at Spurs isn't quite what he wants it to be. Lots of injuries, not been playing so well, not involved in the side as much as he wants. So it could be a case that we end up with Kessie and Winks. Certainly if Winks carries on his form through to the end of the season, because how can you get rid of a player that has then gone up a level? I don't know. It's a tricky one. One that we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on in the coming weeks. But by the sounds of it, it could be sorted early-ish in January. I'm sure once the window opens, it will be delayed slightly because Kessie's going to have lots of clubs wanting to talk to him, because Kessie on a free transfer is an absolute steal. I don't think there will be many top clubs around Europe that are going to want to not have this one, but it's going to come down to who can offer the most money. We know that, and can offer competitive football. Well, it's the Premier League, and even if you're not up the top, it's still a pretty attractive place to be. So we could win the signature based on the fact that Antonio Conte is our manager. We have the best stadium in Europe. We are now in a better place. We could be in a Champions League spot come the end of the season, touch wood. So that one will be a really interesting one. Now, the last story I'm going to hit you with today is one where we get to reminisce a little bit, and it's definitely going to split opinions. Shall I? I will give you my opinion on it as well. But it is that man, Gareth Bale. All right. I know some of you are going to be screaming at your phones, computers, tablets, whatever you're watching this on. Some of you are going to be excited. It's really going to split opinions, this one. So is the third coming going to happen? As we know, since he's returned to Real Madrid, he started off the season under Ancelotti. He was in the squad. Then he's had, once again, injury nightmare. We know with Gareth Bale, this has been a problem throughout his career. So, with that in mind, is it worth the risk? Well, under Mourinho, he came into Spurs. He was injured / not completely match sharp when he came in. However, in the 34 games that he played a part in, he scored 16 goals. Now that's a pretty good goal return for a player that is playing out of shape, out of form, has played barely any football over the last couple of years. Isn't the same player he was, hasn't got as much pace, hasn't got the energy to get up and down the pitch, certainly can't press as much. So for him to return 16 goals in 34 games, bearing in mind, that's not 34 starts, that's 34 games. He spent a lot of time on the bench, had to come off the bench. So look, that's a fair goal return for a player that wasn't quite at his best. Imagine what he could do in the right position. So under Jose Mourinho, they spoke about his position. Apparently he didn't want to play up top. So what Mourinho did was allow him to play wide right. Now, the issue under Conte is for him to do that, he has to play right wing back. He's not going to do that because he's not the same player he was. He definitely can't get up and down the pitch all game, which brings me to the point that he could play as part of the front three. Now, we know Conte can either play with a front two or a front three, depending on which formation he plays on the day. And we've seen already he does like to adapt his formations. Not just from game to game, sometimes in the game. He will then change the formation based on how the opposition are playing and how we're playing and what the score is. So my argument would be, have him in a front three on the right. I think that would suit him down to a T. He's not going to have to do as much pressing because Sonny can do a load of pressing on the left. Kane is getting sharper and can do some pressing. So between them two, they can share pressing to an extent. Bale definitely has the quality to cut inside on that lethal left foot and unleash some worldies. However, when we play two up top, we're in a position at the moment where we've been playing Kane and Son, which works really well. However, Gareth Bale is a much better finisher. He's more confident in central areas one-on-one on the ball. Sonny has got the afterburners to take people on down the wing and then do his little cut inside. Gareth Bale has the trickery. He has that little burst of pace. Can't keep it going over long periods of time. But then he's got that rocket of a left foot. He's got intelligence. He knows what he's doing. So my argument would be, you can have Sonny in there to knacker defenders out throughout the game. So if you want to remain two up top, you can rest Sonny and bring Gareth Bale on to help kill the game off, because he's got the quality to do it up against defenders when they're feeling a bit of tiredness from a game. But then you can have him in that front three, where you can have Son, Kane and Bale. actually playing as a front three. I mean, last season, all we got to see them do were play on the same pitch together. We didn't get to see them as a front three. It was Sonny left wing, Gareth Bale right wing, Harry Kane up front. They were quite far away from each other. Having them in close proximity to one another is a different kettle of fish. And I know many of you are going to be out there saying he's done, he's blah, 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 blah. However, Cristiano Ronaldo, Cavani, Lewandowski, we're talking about players like Lionel Messi. We're talking about players that are getting on in age that can still offer something if you play them in the right way, if you play them in the right formation with the right people around them. So I know a lot of you are going to be skeptical about it, but that's my opinion on it. I feel like he still has something to offer. Now, I don't know whether that's just nostalgia because, you know, we all loved him as a player in his time at Spurs. I actually felt like he should have had more game time when he was on loan with us under Jose Mourinho, and for whatever reasons he wouldn't rush him back. He was cautious with him, didn't play him in certain games that I think he should have, allowed him to play out of position. My personal opinion is he should have forced him to play up front alongside Harry Kane last season, but he didn't. They had the conversation, he used him on the wing, and it didn't work because we weren't that free-flowing attacking team that we were under Pochettino. We had to do a lot more defending, whereas now we defend as a complete unit and we defend from the front. Just saying, that's my opinion on it. I'm sure many of you are going to have stuff to say in the comments about that one, and I really look forward to reading what you've got to say, and don't worry, I shall be replying. But yeah, that's it for today. So I thought I would leave it with that one. So Lloris, contract situation, the possibility of Dean Henderson, Carter Vickers finally getting a permanent move for some stability in his career, Franck Kessie, advanced talks, and Gareth Bale, the third coming. Thanks for sticking around today. Hope you enjoyed that one. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. And until next time, come on you Spurs.